Xbox Roundtable Podcast. This is episode number 152, the absolute best place on a Sunday night to kick back with a cold one and listen to some Xbox talk. This is your host, Invader, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight, just to say the least, because Microsoft decided to drop a huge bomb on the game industry earlier this week. And, well, hey, you know what? We're still catching our breath from the aftershock, the fallout from it. No pun intended there, guys. But before we get into all the details, let me introduce everyone to tonight's panel. And with us tonight is a very charismatic fella and a stalwart Xbox fan. I'm sure you've all seen him around the podcast scene. Please let me welcome Shady. Hey, buddy, how you been?
I've been damn good, man. I appreciate the invite. It's been a long time since I've jumped into the community and done a podcast, so I'm excited. And my God, the news this week was absolutely huge. We got pre-orders out of the way. All the info about next gen, more or less, is out here. Let's get into it, man. I'm sure there's a ton to talk about.
Yeah,
yes,
no, absolutely. And
yeah,
hey, don't worry about me, man. But before we get into all the details, you know, guys, I can't wait to jump into, again, the bombshell. Let me introduce the TXR panel. And Tim, buddy, I'm gonna go with you here. I bet you're excited to get into everything right off the bat, huh?
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is awesome. Going to be a great show. Happy to have Shady here, a fan of his. Great podcaster and content creator. Man, we got a lot to talk about, so waste no time. Just let's get to it.
Absolutely. Next up, Eric Shockley, buddy. Hey, how's it going at your end, bud?
Pretty good. It's been an exciting week. When you thought like everything was, done before next gen was, going to pop off. So, and I got thank God I got my Series X lockdown. I was taking my dog to the vet and there's like no signal in there. And like, that's exactly when they call me in. I was like, God damn. And so I missed like, what was it? Target and Walmart, their sites were trash and Microsoft's site was not loading at all. So I was like, shit. And then you're looking at dogs at Amazon. So, but luckily at 1:30, Best Buy finally put theirs up and I, clicked pre-order 10 for 10 minutes and finally one went through. So
nice.
Excited I got both systems locked down. So
it's a lucky grab. No emails being sent out for Best Buy,
yep.
But yeah.
Yep. Usually when they cancel your shit, they usually give you like a gift card or whatever. So they don't usually like overtake. I've never had issues with them. So.
All right. Gotcha. Yeah, no, we'll see if we can get into some of our pre-order stories later on, but needless to say, it was tooth and nail through a lot of it. Jeremy, buddy, did you take your green pill before jumping on?
Oh, man, I took the green pill and then some. I think every Xbox fan is going to remember the day and time it happened when they bought ZeniMax, for 7.5. And shook the industry big time. Sony fans shook right now. For sure.
For like, what was it? Like probably 30 minutes at 9:00, there was just tweets of what the fuck.
Well, just put it this way. They're shook so much that they're still talking about, they're still downplaying it right now as we speak on Twitter.
Yeah, they're like, Sony's gonna come out and buy Konami like right afterwards. I'm like, get out of here! You guys are so reactionary. It's like trying to one up Microsoft. Plus, I wouldn't use Konami personally. But yeah, it's just interesting some of the stories that have been making the rounds ever since the announcement. But moving along here, guys, going over to Megatron. Hey, buddy, how's things at your end?
What's up? Everything is great, man. I'm ready to get this show started. I got my pit boy sitting next to me. I'm drinking out of my a little whiskey, Johnny Walker, out of my Fallout mug.
Do you really have a pit boy? Did you buy the collector's edition?
I do. I have two collector's editions for Fallout, by the way. I got the lunchbox for Fallout 3, and then I got the pit boy when that was announced. And yeah, man, I'm ready to go, man. Huge Fallout fan, so I was definitely excited to hear the news.
Oh, absolutely. I think all Xbox fans were just like the jaw just dropped. I mean, everybody's jaw dropped, but Yeah, just exciting times all around for Xbox fans. Moving on, guys. And Centurion Pal, how you doing?
Oh, it's great. It's Sunday night. Time to talk about Xbox and all the success that they are having this week and the future to come. And the bombs keep dropping. Hopefully, my collector's edition of Fallout 76 actually has more meaning now with that power helmet in my fake bag.
Oh, you have one of those, huh?
Yeah. I thought you guys saw, like, I've shown you guys a photo of my entertainment center. Yeah, that thing's like front and center. I bought it for the helmet. I didn't buy it for the bag.
Yeah, there was a lot of disappointments over the bag.
Yeah, do you remember that you guys remember that controversy over the bag? Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
the bag thing was pretty ridiculous to say the least. But man, oh man, yeah, like it's big, guys. You know what? I'm gonna, without further delay, let's just like jump into the topic. And yeah, guys, it looks like Microsoft just woke up one morning and decided to break out its massive checkbook. In case you've been
piggy bank. The piggy bank.
Well, yeah, basically they broke open the Scrooge McDuck bank, you know, where he's like swimming in this massive pool of money, and they broke it out.
But, yeah.
Yeah, just
because if you're going to the bank, you're taking out big cash. You know, this isn't big cash to Microsoft. This is piggy bank money really, but.
Oh yeah, but they went to the Scrooge McDuck bank for sure, like, and just took out some from a little piggy bank, as you said, Jeremy. And in case everybody's been living under the rock the past week, Microsoft has purchased ZeniMax Media for $7.5 billion. I say that with a little Dr. Evil motion going on here. And this includes studios such as Bethesda, id, Machine Games, and a few other studios and properties such as Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein. The list goes on. You know, a lot of really well-known household names here. This is truly an earth-shattering announcement, and it's going to send shockwaves throughout the industry. I'm very sure of it. I know everybody on the panel wants to get in on this ASAP, but first I'll start off with our guest tonight. So Shady, buddy, what do you think about Microsoft acquiring ZeniMax? Is it really that big of a deal, this purchase?
The deal is gigantic, honestly, like as gigantic as it gets. It doesn't get any bigger in the industry unless you're buying up mobile studios, apparently, because that's the only one that's ever topped it dollar-wise. But as far as just like hardcore mainstream console-esque gaming, if you will, the normal type of games, this is not the biggest it could ever get, but it's one of. I think Bethesda was like the fourth biggest third-party publisher in the world. They have a gigantic amount of IP, you know, stuff like Doom and Fallout and Elder Scrolls and... Oh, I forgot the horror one. Sorry, but they got like Rage and it goes on and on and on. Evil Within, yeah. And I believe. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. I think Evil Within isn't that made by a Japanese developer as well,
yes.
A Japanese studio
Tango
makes
Games
that. So...
work. Tango Game Works, yeah.
Yeah, so technically Microsoft now owns a Japanese studio. I know there's a lot of people that have been yelling at them to pick up one of those whenever they could. So that's pretty cool to see. Like, I decided not to get involved with social media that morning. I was just doing my own thing. And right before my brother decided to leave for work, he's coming downstairs and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, Microsoft bought Bethesda. And my head almost came off my neck. It whipped so fast, like, come again? And I just grabbed the iPad. And as soon as I opened it up, it was just like DMs and Twitter was lit up everywhere. It's like, holy cow. It is huge because they've been buying up a lot of stuff in the past. There's some pretty big acquisitions before this, but nothing of this scale whatsoever. And I know there's a lot of controversy for some reason to what they're going to do with all these big games and stuff. And I'm pretty sure with the way that they've been speaking and just, you know, I don't have a business degree. I don't think you need one to understand what the hell's going on here. It's not going anywhere but the Xbox ecosystem. All these games will either need a Windows PC, an Xbox console, or you're streaming them on your phones via xCloud and Game Pass. And that's it. And people have, you know, now calling Phil a liar because he says exclusives are anti-consumer. But these aren't, as we've been yelled at by the Sony crowd for years, true quote unquote exclusives, because they're on PC. You can stream them to any quote unquote device, and you can play them on console. That is all he's talking about when he talks about exclusives being bad. So they're available in multiple places on Xbox. He says you can play where you want. Again, if you want to play on a console, they have that for you. If you want to play on PC, make sure it's a Windows one. And if you want to play on your phones via streaming, you need to be signed up through, again, Microsoft via Game Pass and xCloud. Those are the options. He doesn't ever talk about it needs to be played on PlayStation. It needs to be played on Luna. It needs to be played on Stadia. That's not what he's going with. It's your options, where you want to play, how you want to play, as long as it's a part of our ecosystem. They're the only one out there with an actual ecosystem as well, by the way. They don't just have a console. They don't just have streaming, or they're not just on PC. They're all three. So as much as they're grabbing up stuff, I know I'm on record in the past of hating exclusives myself, but that's single device exclusives. I'm tired of buying another device that does virtually the same to the one I already love using just to play a couple games. I hate it. It's an old, ancient practice. I've never liked it, ever, even way back when it was common. Today, it's unnecessary, and with Microsoft, you don't need it. If you're a Sony console guy, as long as you're not one of those dudes that refuses to play anything that isn't on a PlayStation, it's fine. You don't need a console, or you don't need a PC, or you're not being forced to stream. You pick one. It's fantastic. I think this is great news. I think it's great that they're going to lock it down, because that's how you bring people to your ecosystem. A lot of people are worried about money being lost on Sony's platforms. There's 110 million users on Sony stuff. We're talking about next-gen games they're going to be making here, not current gen. These aren't coming out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They're going to be coming out on the Series X and PS5, except that they're not coming out on the PS5 because they're now owned by Microsoft. They're not worried about getting $30 to $40 out of a Elder Scrolls user on a PlayStation. They want to take that user and transform them into a Game Pass subscriber for 150-ish a year, not a one-time $40. Turn him into 150-ish a year, and make it so while he's over here, maybe that's where he buys his Call of Duties, his FIFAs, his Maddens, his Fortnite skins, all the other third-party games that Microsoft gets a chunk of. That's what they want. They don't want 30 or 40 bucks once out of a Sony guy. They want that Sony guy to become an Xbox guy that now looks at Sony as the side console. And you're never going to get that by giving them these big bangers like Doom and Elder Scrolls and Fallout and what have you, ever. Even if it's a year delay, 2 years delay, 3 years delay, never. The longer they wait, the more they're going to end up wanting to come over here, because there's more and more games being added into Game Pass, which is the same price per month. And one of them is going to be the one where they're either spending $300 or less on a sale day for the S. They get themselves a super monster rig, or just a normal PC that can, it'll be able to stream through xCloud, or their phones. Like, it's very easy. It's fantastic compared to any other company out there that could have bought these, other than, say, if EA had bought them, an already established third-party company. If Sony bought them, if Amazon bought them, if Google bought them, or if Apple bought them, there would be one avenue only to those games, and that is terrible. I'm glad it went this way. I happen to be a Microsoft fan already, so be it. But if I was just a regular gamer, I am glad that it was them that made a purchase of this magnitude, because they offer the most options for you to get to it. This is going to be huge. They don't have to worry about over-monetizing their games anymore. Bethesda was getting dirty with that. And they just have the money backing to take their time, get it right. They're all going to be collaborating with each other. There's massive end game engines that they've acquired. They've acquired better streaming technology through Orion. This was huge. And the fact that they, right afterwards, were just kind of like, we're not done. There's more to come. My God. I don't expect it necessarily to be on the scale of buying 8 studios, 12 teams at once, including a publishing house. Like, I don't expect that, but like something like if they were to buy up the People Can Flies or the Techlands or the Crytek's of the world, it would be massive again, and all funneling into a system where if you want to save the most money, you join Game Pass. The amount of games that are going to be flowing into this are too many to play. Xbox has no games is now Xbox has too many games. And if they keep this up, it's going to start looking like PlayStation 5 has no games because they're all bought up. They're gone. And this is the first move by one of the $1 trillion entries in gaming. Google hasn't bought anything up mega yet, and neither has Amazon. but I expect them to start doing so as well. I
Yeah,
think
you're Shade. You're going to see all the chips fall real quick. I mean, Microsoft's big one was, the 7.5. Now you're going to see Amazon buy up another one, Sony get in the mix. I mean, Microsoft made the first move.
they
So
did, and I would hate to be Sony in this situation because if any of those other three want a company that Sony's interested in, Sony can't have it anymore because any one of those could outbid Sony 100 times without breaking a sweat. So the only way Sony's getting anything is if the other three just are not interested or they're throwing them a bone because if word gets out that Sony's got a bid out for, Square Enix, Microsoft could triple it without even thinking about it. Just like, nah, they're not doing it. We're going to take them. So
You know what?
they're in a tough spot. They're in a very tough spot. They're going to have to, like, behind the scenes, keep it a secret from everyone. But what business out there with a brain is going to try to sell to Sony without even mentioning it to these other companies, knowing that everyone right now is hungry to buy companies up for billions, not 100, not 250 million or 300 million like Insomniac. In today's world, Insomniac would probably go for double because everyone wants in. So I think Sony's in a rough spot. I think Microsoft isn't going to let these other guys just nab everything up. And I think they're going to grab some big stuff. A lot of the mid-carders, like the Techlands, like I was saying and stuff, they're going to be grabbed up and just given the funding that they've never, ever truly had. And as an Xbox user, which is going to expand exponentially really quick here, I'm convinced of it, just on user base, not consoles. That's an old, dated metric that doesn't encompass the industry anymore. So I don't want to hear anyone talking about Sony sold more console. Who gives a shit? Who's playing more games on what ecosystem? That's where it is, because the people, the gamers, are the ones that are spending the money, not the consoles. They're just sitting there. How many PlayStation 4s go unused? They're just collecting dust. I've played more Fall Guys this generation on my PlayStation 4 than I have any quote-unquote banger, and I'm not exaggerating. I put in like a good 30 to 40 hours of Fall Guys. I'm lucky if I get 10 hours out of a big PlayStation game before I've lost interest.
So all the way down to Gears Pop.
Yeah, man. Like,
I spent more money. I swear.
Oh, bro. That's right. They want users. And the one company that has the most access to the most users currently is Xbox, because they have the standard way of gaming that we've all grown up with, which is a console. They got PC guys covered, and now they've got the new way, which is streaming, which is seemingly getting better by every other month. And I live in a world where the internet gets better, not worse. So, like, I started this gen with like 10 meg down. I'm sitting at 600 down. It's doubled twice in the last 3 years. And we haven't even getting started yet. 5G is not blanketing the planet like they talk. Internet issues aren't going to become a thing in not too long in the future. Everyone, all these businesses want us online so bad because that's where all the money is being spent now. So they're going out of their way to make sure eventually, like sooner than later, that the world has nice internet and good internet. You know, you'll be able to stream these games everywhere. I know Xbox is getting into Africa and other areas where, forget not owning a console, there's families that don't own a TV. But they all have phones. Phones is like one of the most ubiquitous pieces of technology, high technology, that is around the world, where you'd think people, you'd almost consider it a third world nation, yet everyone's walking around with an iPhone. Like, oh, okay, get them an Xbox controller and all of a sudden they can game. The money's there. It's going to be huge. And acquisitions like this are what was needed. They've been screamed at by both sides vocally. Xbox guys actually yell at Xbox to do something, as opposed to the Sony guys that just are quiet. When things don't go their way, they're quiet. They disappear. It's swept under the rug. And if they're not careful, they're going to end up where us Xbox dudes were at the beginning of this gen, which is with a platform that you want to enjoy, but isn't delivering what you want out of it, because they've just been so blasé and slapping their flippers together for too long. We're looking at almost the most brazen Sony has ever been, raising game prices across the board. If you live in like the UK and other parts of Europe, it's going up as much as 25 US over the Xbox equivalent.
To me, that's crazy.
It is. I might be wrong, but that's like including third party. So Far Cry 6 on the PlayStation 5 in the UK is $25 more than Far Cry 6 on the Xbox in the UK. That's unheard of, especially when technically the Series X version of these multiplats are going to be better. Like, I remember articles being written at the beginning of this gen. It was almost every review, actually. Why would you pay the same money for a game with half the pixel count why would you do it? You got to go PlayStation. It was almost mentioned in every single review. Why would you buy the Xbox? Because it was half the pixels. So what a waste. Whereas now it's more expensive, less pixels. Like, oh my God.
Shady, it's going to be interesting to see what Xbox does as far as the retail price goes, because if they could stick it at that $60 range, like like it is now, that's huge. I mean, nobody's going to want to buy a game for $75, $80.
It is. I don't think they're going to muscle the third party into keeping it low. Like if some of these third party guys look at what Sony's doing and they're not seeing the backlash and they want to raise their costs, I think Xbox would let them. But I could see Xbox first party, which is gigantic and only growing, sticking at that $60 price. Actually, there's been a lot of times where Xbox first party sells at $5 under, at least up here in Canada. But I don't see the Xbox first party going up at all. And I mean, they offer Game Pass, for God's sakes, for people that are worried about cost. You're not obligated to stick around for the whole year. Jump in for a month, play games until you can't stand it, then take a month off and play a Sony banger, come back and next month. Like, that's the beauty of these versus something like cable in the past where you were kind of locked in and stuck, or you're buying a year subscription to things. You can do it month to month. And I grew up renting video games from like Blockbuster all the time. There was a game or two every single week, my entire life. Yeah, until they stopped. And it suddenly, when you couldn't rent games like that, it made gaming expensive and risky because you couldn't try anything out because demos were gone. And my whole life, renting a game was minimum $5. And then when Blockbuster left up here, it topped out at about $8 or $9 for 3 days. And now you can have Game Pass for 10 to 15. You're getting like 200 plus games in there, all the new hotness from Microsoft, a lot of the really high rated, I want to play indie games, but I don't want to pay $30 to $40 indie games. They're all launching in there. And I like those almost more than when the big AAAs launch 3 months later. There's a good chance I own that AAA, but these high end indies that are like 30, $40 that are going in, I love them. I'm crack addicted to them. Like, the service is incredible, and Microsoft is pushing it harder than they've ever pushed it. Every time you hear Xbox, they talk about Game Pass. That is the core of their ecosystem. They offer multiple ways in. This was the biggest purchase in my life as far as core gaming is concerned. I've never really seen anything like it. And this is good for business unless you are a Sony diehard zealot that refuses to play anything not on a PlayStation console. If you're that type of guy, if it's not on a PlayStation console, it's not happening. I'm sorry for you, but you're out of luck.
What kind of podcast this is?
Like, they're out of luck. And to be honest, it's partly their fault. The loudest, craziest Sony guys on social media that are screaming, do something to get me interested. There's no reason to buy your console. You have no games on repeat just for years, screaming, all their followers building up YouTube channels around this narrative. It's kind of their fault this is happening. Like, did they not realize who they were poking? They know how much money. All they needed to do was convince the guys at the top that gaming was serious. I've said it before months ago. It was like Satya forgot they owned Xbox. He just forgot.
Shady. They also created a situation where now software is going to be disappearing from their preferred platform, supposedly.
Oh, yeah.
And now their preferred platform is going to be passed by the market, because we all see how Microsoft, Amazon, and Google are all going to the subscription game streaming services, and PlayStation's still over here trying to beat the drum of old of, this is a sacred garden and this is where you got to go to get anything.
That's right. Like, a lot of people like to think that we are the gamers, the guys in their late 20s, mid 30s, 40s. We've been around since the launch of the NES, just before. This is the way it's going to be forever, and we're the gamers. A lot of people forget that, like, there's thousands and thousands of new gamers that are picking up a controller for the very first time almost every day. And I don't think a lot of them are going towards that console tethered to a TV scenario. They're living in a mobile world where everything is like, you get them trying to sit down and watch a movie on a television. Some new kid is probably like, nah, I need to be watching it on my phone when in a crew where I can be, whatever they're doing. They consume media different than the established core did for the longest time. And that's kind of the new audience. So in order to grow, you have to have stuff for them, and that's the streaming, and that's where they're not looking at it as an instant no way in hell. They're just like, thank God that's there, because I don't want to be stuck at home in my parents' house where they're yelling at me to go outside. Now I can be outside playing my games. Like, it's a different world, and there's more of them coming, I think. So it's this is good times. I've never been happier as an Xbox gamer, obviously, but I think this is good stuff. Like the industry is growing.
Speaking of good times, you know the biggest winner in all this is Todd Howard. He's been at Bethesda for like 25 years. And I guarantee you he's gotten filthy rich off this deal because
no doubt.
He has this. Oh, dude, I'm betting over the next 5 years he'll be gone at Bethesda, unfortunately. Because
I think so. I think he's only kept there through contract now. It was like, okay, Todd, we know you just got 800 million in stock. We know, but we would like you to stick around for a couple years, and that's a part of the deal. You need to stay. Todd Howard needs to stay. And I mean, you can't really blame a guy for doing that. You work crazy hard. Like he's been making games since his late teens, I believe. And
he still looks like a teen now.
Well, I mean, he's got that nerd look down, but through all the stumbling and the bumbling that Bethesda's done the last couple of years and what have you, I still like Todd Howard. I like when he comes out and speaks. I think he's a professional. They make insanely overcomplicated games. I would call them ambitious, and yeah, stuff goes wrong, but it is what it is. Like,
what do you think? You think it's safe to say that Xbox is slowly cornering the market? I mean, I was arguing with crap on Twitter about this, and I gave them this analogy. I said, imagine you purchase a house in an exclusive community, and you have to pay into that community. Yeah, sure, your house was the biggest on the block, nice car, nice pool. This is Sony, but then somebody comes in like Microsoft and Xbox and just buys up the whole community, and it just purchases everything. So no matter what you do, whether Xbox decides to make exclusive games, they can do that. If they decide to go multi-plat, which it's obviously going to be on PC, but it's still up in the air whether or not it's going to be on PS4. They can do that. Either way, I think Sony's going to be paying them regardless.
Oh, they are. I mean, they're on the Azure servers, right?
And that's what I talk about cornering the market. If they can get into Japan somehow and purchase somebody else or another. I mean, that we're talking about, Sony is going to become non-existent at that point if Xbox makes another huge move. Wouldn't you agree?
I think there's a couple big moves to go before something like Sony being non-existent, and at least a gen of getting shit kicked before that would happen on their end. But I mean, Sony's in a weird position. So is Nintendo. Nintendo lives off nostalgia today. Like, they make amazing games. I'm a Nintendo fan before I'm a Sony fan. But I think Nintendo has a lot of room to they need to change pretty quick, or they're going to find again themselves just in a weird spot. And if they're willing to accept
Nintendo
that spot,
partnering with Xbox and getting something really good going on between the two of them,
that could be interesting if they could make it a streaming device. That's right. So if they could get onto Azure, and if they were willing to let their users subscribe to Game Pass, which essentially contains mostly games that aren't on the Switch anyways, like Nintendo would get a cut of that subscription or whatever's going on with their users. But if you could use your Switch as the streaming Xbox for xCloud, that'd be pretty badass. I know a lot of people want that.
You know how much money they would hey, can you imagine if Xbox paid Nintendo to put the app on the Switch, and then they got a cut of some of the profits that were made off of purchases that were made on the app on the Switch?
Oh, exactly. It's absolutely huge. It wasn't that long ago. I was hearing some big YouTubers say that Game Pass was a never was. This is a never was. They need big third-party games day one. Well, I mean, Xbox didn't just get them day one. They now own the fourth biggest third-party publisher in the world. It's theirs now. All those games will be day one. Yeah. Is there anything else? Is there anything else before it's not a never was? 15 million subscribers and going.
Let me just interject here, because just to go over what they acquired, right, guys? So obviously, in this ZeniMax Media deal, they got a crap ton. I had mentioned it earlier, just a brief summary, but they got, again, id Software. They, obviously Doom, Rage, two really cool IP there, especially Doom. Bethesda Softworks, which Elder Scrolls, Fallout, absolutely massive. Some of the biggest RPGs right there.
Invader, Quake is getting lost in all that. How huge
I was going to say Quake is tremendous still, even to this day.
So Doom and Wolfenstein are, I think, the biggest for me.
Yeah,
go.
Go ahead, Centurion.
Okay, so outside of games, what I'm wanting to touch on, everybody's over here like games, beating this gaming drum. For starters, they had Orion. Orion was actually said to be better than xCloud. It actually was 40% faster in some cases and actually had a better lag time. Had 40% better lag times, and it was more reliable than xCloud. This is technology that Microsoft is probably going to integrate into the xCloud system to basically make it faster, more reliable. This is definitely technology that they were interested in.
Absolutely.
On top of getting a game engine. So not only do we have a game engine that's being cooked up at 343, but now we have a game engine that's being cooked up over there at Bethesda. And we got to remember, Bethesda's game engine, even though it's been buggy and it's actually given us some pretty hilarious GIFs over the years, is actually a very complicated engine. And the fact that they have a new one that we haven't seen yet, I am so curious on what the future holds.
When you can't downplay id Tech, they now own id Tech. That is one of my favorite. That's been one of my favorite engines forever. Doom is my all-time favorite franchise. So Microsoft now having Doom and Halo, those are my favorite shooters of all time, followed by Wolfenstein. They own that as well. I'm a big Rage fan. Oh, they got that one. Whatever engine Dishonored is on.
Shady, I was listening to Todd speak, and he always spoke about making a Star Wars game. That was his wish. That was his big thing. And now you can see what they did with Starfield, their own IP. I think they're going that Star Wars-ish route. Their space opera, whatever you want to call it. Now that's their baby, I think that's going to be a huge game. I mean, people are still up in the air what Starfield is about, but they said they're really happy with the progress. I don't know if you guys watched the Phil interview with him and Todd and company, but Starfield is another one of these games where I think it's going to take the world by storm, and it could make some waves. For sure.
Starfield, it magically had a little bit of a leak this last couple of days as well, with some screenshots sneaking out, and they look glorious. I think those are not actual leaks; they're kind of just planned. Like, let throw these out there, everyone.
Sometimes somebody fanboys get pissed that they better not make it exclusive to Xbox, or we're going to.
Hey, I've heard they pulled all mention of PlayStation, I guess, is off of the official website for Starfield. I've been told. I haven't gone and looked myself. It doesn't bother me that much. That game's been in development for a long time, so if there already is a deal for PlayStation platforms in place, they said they're going to honor that. There's a chance that Starfield may still go. And if it does, I can't wait to see the reaction of the Sony zealots. They're going to think they've won something. You see, you were all wrong. They're all coming. And then it'll be the next games that are all Xbox ecosystem exclusive.
After this is going on, I mean, as big of an acquisition as this is with ZeniMax, what's next? I mean, it makes me think again, Phil was like, we're not competing. Not for nothing. We're not competing with Nintendo or PlayStation, respectfully. They're competing. You obviously see it now. It's clear. Google and Amazon, because they have the bank.
Maybe they'll just hold back with their feelers out and just see what the other companies are looking for. And anyone that sends out like one of their lawyers, go see if they want to be bought. Microsoft lawyers right behind them. Whatever they offered, we'll double it. They're just going to make sure that no one else gets anything for a while, I think. They want to make sure that.
After seeing this, though, with the Warner Brothers, no one ever really officially said that it was true, but the rumors makes you think that, it's true. Same thing with Bungie. Yeah, it was true. Like, the gloves are off.
They are off, yeah.
Pushing this cloud, and you see why, and all the naysayers. I mean, $15. I mean, think about what you're getting with Destiny in November 10th with all the first-party studio, 28 first-party studios. Microsoft can have their own E3. They can sit down there and just paint the entire street green and just,
I think it was Randolph Thor that painted this acquisition in a hilarious way. He was like, Microsoft just bought an entire E3 conference.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, Bethesda has their own E3 conference with games every single year showing off. It's one of the best, in my opinion. I think it's great. It's a little tacky, but which one isn't, right? But he was just like, essentially, they bought an entire E3 conference to add to theirs. So each year now, what are we looking at? 2.5 hours of Xbox greatness, Sony's never coming back to E3 when that show finally starts going. They're never coming back because they're just going to get beat up year after year on what's to show. It's going to be impossible to match this. Impossible for any company to match it, really, for a long time.
Shut it down.
The gloves are off, man. The gloves are off. He just did a keynote at TGS, Phil. I mean, let's not forget about that. Even though it wasn't this big spectacular thing, I mean, Nintendo really wasn't there. PlayStation wasn't there, but they just did. I know definitely he was invited to do that, but he just did keynote. Like the gloves are off. I mean, the possibilities are endless. They're in it to win it. They're going to push Game Pass. I was one of those guys in the beginning that said, you know what? Well, maybe they're going to make everything exclusive to get their money back. But now listening to you, I mean, you made a lot of excellent points and stuff. I don't think I think you're right. I think maybe some stuff, but it's going to be all Xbox. Come.
Yeah. It's like the bigger everyone's like, those IPs are so big. They have such a baked-in fan base that spends thousands of hours. And it's like, exactly. So why do they only want 30 or $40 out of that guy?
Franchise.
Get him over here, right?
They spent $7.5 billion just to outsource them to other consoles. No, I think they're going to keep them.
Nah.
They're gonna keep them in their ecosystem, especially since a good portion of those games haven't been announced officially for other consoles. Like even Elder Scrolls 6, for example, they just showed all they said was it's in development. As far as I'm concerned, like they could still put exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, Xbox PC. They could do like imagine Fallout 5, going exclusive, right? That would do wonders for bloody console sales. No, but guys, imagine this though. Game Pass, right? Day one, Game Pass. You don't have to pay a thing, or maybe you pay just if you're just getting into Game Pass, just a small entry fee for the month or whatever. It's like, damn, like it is crazy. I also got to mention thanks to Dirt Griggity for the $5 super chat. What's up, fellas? Doesn't it feel good to be on Team Xbox? Oh yeah, buddy. The Xbox vibes are awesome. This week has just been great. It's been very uplifting to say the least. Yeah, you see, guys, I just don't understand where this thing is coming from, this term where Xbox is supposed to put their newly bought studios, all their IP onto other systems, whereas Sony, as soon as they buy somebody, it's like, oh no, you can't do that to Spider-Man, they're exclusive.
You know what I think why it's been allowed is because Sony has dominated so hard that it's like, well, obviously they can keep it exclusive. They don't need Xbox because there's no one on Xbox. So they're assuming that's going to be the exact same next gen, which is happening right now. People are deciding where to go right now. And a lot of hardcore guys, they think everyone's hardcore, just like them. If all you play is Xbox, everyone only plays Xbox that has one. That's all they touch. They love it. No, I own a PlayStation. I play Xbox more, but I own a PlayStation. So I'm one of these PlayStation users that people love to count that is saying you can't abandon them on PlayStation they need their Fallout and Elder Scrolls. I don't need it on PlayStation. I don't. Because I have Xbox, but I have both. So don't count me in your 100 million number. How many other millions of Xbox people have a PlayStation? So don't count them either. And then out of all the gamers that actually game, like 80% plus are casual. They don't have an allegiance to these companies. We've been screamed at by the hardcore all gen. People go where the games are. Well, right now is the very beginning of a brand new generation. Microsoft offers two consoles. One of them is the cheapest a brand new next-gen console's ever been. And they just announced that we have all these games. They're going to be over here. Guaranteed you can play them over here. These casual guys, these Joe Blow gamers that love Elder Scrolls, he's even a hardcore gamer. He just loves Elder Scrolls. He doesn't love Sony. He's out. He's already pre-ordered a Series S or a Series X. He's already lost it. All my buddies that go to work, all their gamers that they work with, they're all swapping. All of them, not exaggerating. Like, it is a massive shift happening right before our eyes, but everyone likes to think that quote unquote 100 million gamers on PlayStation 4 is going to translate into 100 million gamers on PlayStation 5. It's not. They are going to lose the same amount of customers that Xbox lost. They're going to feel what that's like because everyone's going to go where the games are, and not just the games, but the cheap games. And that's Game Pass, baby. All the hotness for $15 a month. The casuals are going to come over here in droves. Sony's in trouble. I'm going to leave it at that one for my outro because I've talked a lot. But yeah, man.
But looking at what they need, moving forward, because they need some stuff. They own the Western market. Let's be straight, Shady, but they need to make some headway in Japan.
That's going to be
they
the
need to make,
xCloud.
yeah, I'm not
That'll
too
be
sure
streaming,
about that
man. And same with India, and
because
same with Africa, and same with
yes,
like China. It's all
but
xCloud, man. They're going to
it's
stream
gonna
that
be
shit.
xCloud. But what games are they gonna play? I mean, it's still right
What?
now. Listen, that's a different market, totally
It
different
is.
Very
market as
style
it
of
is in
game.
It
the
is
You
for
mean
US.
what type
sure.
of what type?
So
Yes.
yeah, so they need to make some head. I could see them making another move, maybe for a Japanese company, because doing, and that's why I argued, someone like Sega makes sense because, and I know it's going to be hard to buy them for sure. I mean, it'd be almost impossible, but at this point, I mean, it makes most sense. I mean, the things you can do with the merchandising, the things you can do with the IPs, and automatically you'd have, I think, a foothold in that market if you decide to purchase a Sega or a Capcom, even for that matter. What kind of other moves do you see him making? Because I mean, sky's the limit right now.
Well,
It
what
is.
do you
That
think, though? Real
Capcom would be
quick.
bigger than Sega, I think.
Yeah. So now we're talking about the Japanese market. Let's talk. I mean, a little bit of the sales. Now we don't know exactly how many consoles were sold in Korea and Japan, but you think that's a good start because they were selling out?
It looks
No.
good, but they might have
Hard-
had 100 in the country, and they sold
Yeah.
that. We weren't given the numbers, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that they're selling well, especially for an Xbox console. I mean, they weren't selling at all this generation over there, but they do need games that are going to appease to that market. My issue with when everyone gets all wrapped up in how many sell in Japan and what they're doing over there, and you guys nailed it before I got into this, was it's a totally different culture than ours. The things that they're into, what they like, what they don't, what offends them, what doesn't, different than what we're into. So I'm not really concerned about what Japan does. They're not the big power player in the gaming space that they once were. They've transitioned away from the console space. So especially if you're a console gamer guy, don't worry about what Japan's up to. They're not buying consoles so much anymore. And I think it's going to be a downward trend.
I think when the PS4 was launched, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they even launched first in Japan. I think it was. Yeah, so I mean that's a different.
That kind of says it right there. Where we all grew up in a time when consoles came out in Japan like 3 or 4, 6 months before we got them in America. I remember renting Japanese consoles because I was not going to wait for like the Saturn or the N64. So I'm playing the Japanese versions, just trying to beat my way through the text, which I have no hope in reading. But like it's reversed now, where they actually get all these consoles and the new stuff out over here first and not over there. And I think it's just because the players, like the users and the money, isn't there anymore, and they're no longer making the biggest games in the world. Where Japan saved us during the Nintendo era, and for a good while after, they held the industry on their back. And then it wasn't until kind of the 360 era where the Western devs, European devs, Canadian devs, stuff like that around the world really started to up their game and took the industry over. And it took Japan a little while to adjust. And now we're starting to see some of these companies using the Unreal Engine and some of the more modern stuff. And they're putting out some really hot stuff, but they're not as big as they once were.
Yeah, thinking about their RPGs, now they're, you look at Final Fantasy 15, they're more westernized when it comes to, the style of play, the gameplay.
Yeah, same with Resident Evil. The remakes are Western remakes.
And I'm a
of
fan of
Resident Evil.
turn-based. I'm old school. I mean, when I had my PlayStation 3, my PlayStation 2 in those days, it was all my JRPGs and those Japanese-centric games. But now you're starting to see kind of a blend more and more. And it's all about, Western. I mean, we're the biggest market right now, like you said. The U.S., Europe, all the Spanish countries, like the Spanish-speaking countries. I don't know. And so it's times are changing, man. And xCloud, I want to see
all the people.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. I was going to say to all the people that are starting to talk about a monopoly, they don't really know what a monopoly is, because if anything, this gives you more balance in the industry versus like Sony. It's just look at the competition they're going to put up on Sony's front, who has great studios, and I don't even think they need to rush out and buy anything themselves. Maybe just make sure Blue Point's locked down, and maybe some of the studios they work with don't get taken up because they can't really afford some of these big publisher purchases. But if anything, it balances it a little bit more between the big three. So
it lets some of these companies maintain their budgets as well. The games that the audiences are demanding are getting obscenely expensive to make, and some of these companies are putting like everything they have on the line with one game, and if it doesn't do gangbusters, they're done. So having gigantic corporations somehow come in and funded, especially Microsoft. They're currently looking like a good guy. The guys that are owned are speaking well of it. So as long as that continues, this is a good move because it allows the giant games and the variation of games where they can make something and not have to worry if it's going to sell because it goes into Game Pass. You can have like a niche indie or something that's just kind of a test. Just games that you couldn't monetize standard, they can now put in there. It's a good thing because a lot of that stuff is starting to go away. You see a lot of games are becoming very samey. It's the same thing every year because these companies are too terrified to change anything, lest that be the one change too many and they go bankrupt.
Which is the reason why me and you both, like I said, share the love for indie games because they can do things differently and take that risk.
Yeah, you end up playing neat little concepts in an indie game, and then one of these big guys sees it, likes it, and they implement it into their next AAA. But without that indie idea, we never have it. Then a proof of concept kind of thing. And then I just wanted to say, I think we're in the third stage of grief right now for everyone in the industry, the Sony guys, and that's bargaining. It's the bargaining stage. You know, at first there was the denial, the outright, no, it's not happening. That's not real. Everyone was in it. Even Xbox guys, no way. You know, we've all gone through rumors and false this and that. And no, we all denied it. But then the guys that aren't on board, that were angry as hell, now they're bargaining, man. You know, you just bring it on over to the PlayStation. We'll accept a year later. Just bring it over a year later. You know you want to. So that's what's coming up. And then after that, it's going to be depression. They're going to be depressed as all hell because it's obviously sunk in. They know they're not getting nothing, and they know they have to buy an Xbox console, PC gamer all of a sudden, or stream their games. And then acceptance by, this time next year is just going to be standard that Xbox is dominating. We have all the games, all the hotness. The first party is going to be out of control. And we're going to be screaming, there's too much to play, slow down.
Yeah, Shady, at the end of the day, when Microsoft looks in their pocket, they have that market cap of $1 trillion. Sony looks in their pocket, it's 99 billion or something like that. So,
and that's just their market worth. Like, $1 trillion is 1,000 billions. It's obscene amounts of money. Like, you can't even fathom. I love when they say that they bought them straight cash. Reality was it was probably just a transfer, like a bank transfer. But I would love to imagine Phil rolling up with like 8 trucks just full of $100 bills. They just dump it all out in Bethesda's parking lot. Wow. You belong to us now, And the employees are allowed to just run out and grab whatever they can carry. Who gives a fuck? That's what I imagine in my mind. Dump trucks of money, just boom.
I gotta chime in here, fellas. Dragonheart Yobi just dropped the $20 super chat. Thanks, buddy. And my oh my, had the tables done turned. This new gen is gonna be groundbreaking for gaming in general. Stay safe, Kings. Thank you very much, Yobi. Yeah, it's again with those pre-orders dropping the day after that this happened. Man, oh man, the tables are definitely turning. Yeah. Who knows?
Dude,
appreciate the super chat. Thanks, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yo, it was a Monday, right? I'm like, typical Monday. I'm already meditating. I got to meditate to go to work the next day. Like, I got to think and do my arms. I'm just like lighting incense. Like, oh, my God, I got to go to work on Monday.
8:30 rolls. Cloud 9. We've been on cloud 9. What were you taking the other day? What kind of pills were you taking? We're taking those pills for like a week straight.
Listen, I was on muscle relaxers, bro. It was, let me tell you, it's another story behind that when we go into the other topic. But like, dude, it was crazy. But it was another Monday for me, man. And I'm like, man, look at the clock. And I'm like, let it be 12 o'clock, 8:30. And I'm looking at my clock, 8:45. 8:50 rolls around, 8:58. And I see Jason Schreier tweet out. I'm like, what? Bethesda? Like, what's he talking about? 9 o'clock exactly, Eastern Standard Time, right? I guess Phil officially tweeted out that Bethesda was being, acquired. The partnership that they were going to have with ZeniMax, and I was if Monday felt like a Friday, every day was just like the smile on my face. I was still in shock. Like, I still today can't believe that this is happening. And I'm thinking, now what's next? Like,
now, guys, I'm curious. Tim, you've been kind of silent. What are your thoughts on all this?
Shady's been on fire, man. He said it all.
I know,
it's
but
so long since I've been on the show. I apologize. It was just like, blah! It came out.
Honestly, I've just taken it in. I've talked about the subject, at length. I'm with Megatron. I feel like 100%. This is like you can't wrap your, I can't really, like, it feels surreal. I just can't believe they got 8 studios. They've gotten a publisher. They've gotten, new tech, whether it's Engine or it's Orion, or just the fact that they're in Maryland, where me and you, probably Megatron, will be making a trip down there to meet some of the people, or when Xbox goes down there. This, as Shady brought up, and I had also brought up this as well. Bethesda, when they did their E3s, they've had E3s that were better than Xbox's shows. And that's just a tribute to how well they do, and how good they are at marketing. Peter Hines is a very smart guy, and he's going to bring a lot to Xbox. But you look at that, you look at how, like, we went to their E3 show right after E3, and it was a great show, and how they do it. If Xbox has another E3, that's going to be the E3 that we all, we always joke around and say, wait for E3. Well, now it's wait to get your ass kicked at E3.
And let's not forget, Tim. There was, when we go to their shows, we have the honor of going there. There are PlayStation guys there and Microsoft guys there. It's neutral ground. People are enthusiastic for whatever they're showing. And with this announcement now, they're coming over. No one's going to pass up a good game if you're a gamer, man. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but thinking about it, we're all gamers there, and it was either Xbox guys, PlayStation guys, PC guys, and they're going to go where their games are. So
100%, and I think that's why when it comes to the exclusives and the panels talking, it's more about getting your market share. It's not about making money back on PS5, which is it's probably gonna be next gen only. You're gonna get that money back by getting the market share, by getting people into your ecosystem, by getting the people that you've lost in this generation. You could see it already. Listen, Twitter is really going crazy. You could see a lot of buzz going for Xbox. I see people that want, more studios and more of this. Right now I'm just taking this all in. I'm very happy with what they did, how they unveiled it, how that just everything went down. I still think, this is, we can still get some more talk out of this, because just the proportion of what they did, or the size of this is absolutely huge. And, it's going to be huge for xCloud. It's going to be huge for, the ecosystem for Xbox. And, I think it kind of, cements Phil's legacy with Xbox. I kind of feel like before this, he's done a lot of good things, but this is the deal.
Yeah.
This shook the world. And
it was it King David always called him soon to be Aurelius? I think he's attained the title. Dominus Maximus, currently Aurelius.
Mr. Killbox himself, quote.
Would you say that this move, Tim, defines his legacy pretty much now?
This is the single biggest move he's ever done, and I think I think it helps him, because listen, you could say a weak spot of his has been exclusives for Xbox. Xbox has no game meme, and all that stuff.
Big moves in general. But
I think his biggest move is going to be Game Pass, actually. When people look back, it's going to be, Game Pass was the biggest. Bethesda's a big mark. That's a nice badge to wear, but I think it's getting Game Pass to be a thing is insane.
Right. I think I agree with you there, but I do think that this is a big needle pusher, where I think with Game Pass, that the best thing about Game Pass, to believe it or not, was there was a time where Satya really was needed to be sold on Xbox, and I think that Phil, devised this Game Pass idea and the streaming and everything, and he sold that to Satya, and that made Satya believe in him and believe in Xbox. And
he's just in the lab cooking up a new industry. Yeah, we got it. This is it.
Yeah.
Streaming and Game
cerebral.
Pass, baby.
He's really playing a game of chess. I think he's real cerebral about it. He saw the narrative, shooting it all down. He's giving you the best price. He's giving you different ways to get into the ecosystem. All you need is your phone at this point, and you can play all these games. You can stream your games. I mean, you can go on and on about everything that's happening. I just think I'm just still blown away.
Well, Tim, how happy were you not only for Xbox but Xbox fans once this news hit?
Oh, I'm so. Listen, you know me. I'm always combative and stuff like that, or I don't like take stuff. Or, I'll go at people. But ever since this, I've been really being cool. I mean, like I've been letting things go just because I just really feel like Xbox did what they needed to do, and I think that shut people up, and there's no more bullshit. Really, there's still bullshit that goes on.
He's brought back confidence into the name of Xbox because
Swagger.
He brought it.
It
It was people saying that they didn't care about games. You can't say that anymore. Like again, you got the best hardware. Wherever you want to choose, it's a win, man. Like. They did everything right. They
listen. Aside from Halo being delayed, they've done everything right for this generation, this upcoming generation, and for them to just really knock it out of the ballpark right before pre-orders. And I can tell you right now, they're at the point where they're having a hard time keeping up with pre-orders. They're seeing demand across global. They're seeing demand in that they didn't expect. They expected themselves to sell out, but I don't think that they expected it to be this big. And that's just, a great thing because
now they're doing it. They're doing it over 12. I mean, how many is it? Is it 12 countries at once? I don't remember exactly. Do you remember?
Yeah, they're doing that. They're doing it all at once. So there's no. Okay. I think Sony's splitting it up. They have 1 week, and then the following week they're doing the rest of the regions. Xbox is doing the whole entire, their whole entire footprint. So, I think people will get their Xboxes, but I just don't know if people are going to get it the day of. I think you might be looking at, maybe December or some people, because like I said, I've heard that. Basically, I asked somebody, and they said, we wish we could have made more, and I think that's just the fact that. I think both Sony and Xbox are going to be sold out, and you're going to see some stupid stuff like eBay, $1,000 Xboxes, $1,000 PS5s.
Yeah, that's Tim. That's the reason why I went to physically go get my Xbox pre-order and PlayStation pre-order, because the likelihood of you actually getting it that day and date it's 100%. Really, I mean, barring the bus crashes or not the bus, but the truck or whatever. But what I'm saying is, if you do it online, it's a toss up. It's a crapshoot. You don't know if you're going to get it that particular day or even that week. It's just sorry to say, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's not first come first serve at that point. It's just a free for all, and then they're just trying to fix those orders. And it's just, I'm looking forward to picking up mine at GameStop. And then later on, my S will be coming via Target.
Jeremy, what time did you get to GameStop? How early did you get to GameStop when you pre-ordered yours?
I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Time. And it was funny because when I went there, the GameStop down the street already had like 13 people in line. And they were only receiving 8 Xboxes. So I was curious to see exactly what would happen, because there's only 2 GameStops in Bozeman. And that's one of the largest cities in Montana right now. And when I went there, there was nobody. There was one person in line. So when me and my boss got there, it was literally just, that one person and then just us. So we got our consoles. We got lucky.
Which confirms that only 4 people have internet and
Was everybody on the panel here able to snag an Xbox?
It wasn't the easiest online. We had the same issues. Everyone, it just failed to go through, couldn't add to cart, glitch. That was about an hour for my brother and I, but then they suddenly, R2 snuck through within 20 minutes of each other, both of which were used on his phone through a link that he got through an email from Xbox that morning. Everything else we did wouldn't work, whereas 2, we snuck through there. And then a good buddy of ours managed to get one at, it's like the Canadian. Well, it is actually Best Buy. I was going to say it's the Canadian, but no, Future Shop is the Canadian Best Buy. It was at Best Buy. We have both.
So
But,
shady.
he grabbed one at Best Buy later, and we got a physical from EB. We showed up just before, like an hour before they opened up at 11. There was 28 people in line, so it was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And we got in line, and the manager came out, and she was counting everybody, and she stopped at the person right behind my bro and I, and she said, all right, that's it. That's all we have. So they had 30 Series X's. They didn't get a single S at the one GameStop that we were at.
Right. Yeah. So Shady, I'm from Ontario, so I definitely know Future Shop, to say the least.
Yeah, there we go.
That goes back. It doesn't seem like all that long ago, to be honest, but damn. But
it's still here in Calgary. We still have Future Shop.
Really? Damn.
I think there's one. I think there might be one because they did shut down most.
Yeah, they're gone here. Unfortunately,
maybe they are gone. I haven't been there in a long time. I assume that one's still around, but Best Buy is certainly a thing.
Oh,
yeah, we all got one, which was nice. It was Harry there for about an hour. We were kind of like, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but we got 3 online for the crew, and then our one buddy, we did get that one from GameStop for him physical. So I will be up there as soon as the store opens to grab it. So the mailman can technically take his time, but not too long. God damn it. I don't want to have to hijack a FedEx truck on the morning of this console.
Well, I was like everybody else. I was waiting online. I didn't bother with retail. I was at work. I was trying to snag one, and then, all the hiccups started happening right on the dot, and then some retailers didn't post, like Walmart, and I think Amazon didn't post it right away either. They'd waited like at least half an hour or something like that. I managed. I just happened to be looking like randomly. I'm like, I'll take a look at work, and then randomly I was able to like do it through Best Buy. I was like, yes, I couldn't believe it. I just had to like just kind of shake my head. I'm like, wow, I actually got it through. I was just amazed that I was able to grab it.
Interesting reaction where I feel like I personally won the Super Bowl, getting the honor to send $600+ Canadian to Microsoft. It's like, I get to buy something that's expensive. It was a very interesting feeling.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm super hyped for this. I was just going to say, which of the two companies do you prefer? The out of nowhere pre-orders are now, and you just go. It's an absolute madhouse where only the people on the inside know, or this.
Shady, either way, it was kind of a shit show for both.
It was like I appreciate the heads up. It was more fair, I think, for everybody. Let's not get into the people setting up bots and stuff. I think that's overblown. I'm sure it happens, but not as much as people like to think. But I like getting the heads up and being able to have all my friends know when they can be there. If they were at work, they were able to take time off for I'm going to squish all my breaks of the day in. I had a friend that did that. So I like that better than what Sony did, which was just wham, it's out. Well, it was easier for me to get a PS5 pre-order, much easier because I knew about it and I acted, right? But I think it was a service for the fan base.
Yeah, the only issue with the plan stuff is, the bots, the people who do all kinds of funky stuff as far as the bots goes, they have more time to plan for that stuff, and that's the only thing
I don't think there's any time to plan. The bots already got set. So if they go randomly up for PlayStation, they're already set on those store pages. Those pages have been up for weeks prior. I had my alerts set on those pages, and that's how I knew PlayStation was going live as well, as people were posting their receipts from GameStop. But
the biggest issue is just people that are skilled at getting these types of stuff, like guys that know how to get around things and are willing to put in the patience and go to different stores and go early. They're able to just grab a bunch. It's not necessarily bots as much as very dedicated purchasers. That's really
all I heard was somebody all I heard was some different YouTubers was F5. I don't shop too much on PC, but they keep hitting F5. And that was it. I got lucky with my it was strange, Joe, because you remember how high I was last Sunday, right? So I made the mistake and I woke up in pain Monday night, was it? Yeah, Monday night. The pre-orders were Tuesday. Woke up in pain. It must have been like 11 o'clock at night. Popped another muscle relaxer. My neck, shoulders was killing me. Like, oh my gosh. I'm thinking it was enough time for this thing to wear off. So I'm getting in my car, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Tuesday. I'm still feeling some kind of way.
Oh,
And
God.
then I just start feeling dizzy, lightheaded. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I can't work like this. I'm a mess. I could barely drive my car. I barely made it 20 minutes down the road and just had to pull over. Pulled over to the local bagel shop, grab me, something to eat and drink. And then I'm like, I'm calling out of work. And I'm like, you know what? Pre-orders. And I'm like, and I was always stressed out the night before how I was going to get my console. So I ended up heading to the best stop that was the GameStop that was right around the corner for me. And I got there, and there was two other guys there in front of me. It was like 30 degrees, 36 degrees. It was freezing out. They were nice enough to put a chair out there for me. We had the best gaming conversation ever. And we seen on their door 6 Xbox Series X's and two Series S's. And I tried to get the 2, but they wouldn't let me. There was one left. They wouldn't let me pre-order it because there was a line. I was like, But I tried. But yeah, that was how I got that, man. I was high as a kite, talking nonstop to everybody. I know everybody wants to shut the hell up.
Then make sure you're pre-ordered. Look for the email. You were super high. It's all made up. You're rolling around in the grass.
Megatron, the funniest story I heard was, and my buddy called me about it. He saw some guy in California, and he had 10 Xboxes and like 4 S's. I'm like, how in the hell did he get that many? He's like, well, in Los Angeles, and this is true, by the way, there's a GameStop in like a 2-mile radius. There's like, like 3 or 4, He actually he paid like 7 Mexicans to stand in line. He paid them to stand in line and get Xboxes from him and gave them like $25 each. To stand in line for about, like, wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a good idea. But
there is nothing easier to.
Why didn't you want to get your family members, buddy? He's like, they didn't want to do it.
The only thing on the planet easier to sell than drugs is a new console in a generation, man. That thing, boom, it's just gone. You put it up, it's gone. So those guys that like that stuff. Woo.
He bought himself some OLEDs, and wherever else he wanted, including the consoles he's going to keep.
You just paid for his entire generation right there.
Yeah.
Now, people should hit me up on my DM after the show. If you want me to show you how to set up alerts, you will get notified with a text with the exact buy link the second they go live. I've already had them go live for Xbox and PlayStation multiple times since they sold out. So definitely a DM. I'll show you how to set it up, and you'll be gold.
I'm going to DM you because I need another one. I need at least 2 in my household because my kids right now, my 3-year-old to my 11-year-old were savages, to each other when it comes to gaming and even sharing anything right now. They're not trying to share nothing. My littlest one is hiding the controllers. She's 3 years old and she's shoving this right there in her nighttime diapers. Like, no, you're not getting this. She'll put it by a dirty one if she can put it.
Trapped.
I got to interrupt here for the $5 super chat from ATL. It feels like Phil had a whiteboard with fanboy narratives and crossed them out one by one. Hey, I like that, buddy. And he says, like a boss, he analyzed all their weaknesses and took action. Oh, yeah, man. He, he was talking to ZeniMax Media there. He opened up the big, he asked Satya there. Hey, can I buy Bethesda and all these studios? Like, yeah, sure, man. Opened up the wallet, got the big Scrooge McDuck money there, and bam, it was done. Phil is really, really.
For people that think that they're dying to make that money back as quick as possible, that was 5% of their cash on hand, liquid cash. So they'll be all right. Yeah.
There's no short term. They don't want this stuff short term. They're not paying interest on this. They don't need it back by a certain date. This is to get Sony gamers, Nintendo gamers off of their platforms onto the Xbox ecosystem, paying upwards of $150 a year for Game Pass, buying Call of Duty, Madden, FIFA, Fortnite skins. Everything gets bought on Xbox except for the Sony exclusives that they don't have. That's where the real money is selling everyone else's games at 30% cut. And that's what they want, is those Sony customers cut of the games they buy on PlayStation that are available over on Xbox. Not just the Game Pass. They want you to buy Call of Duty over here and every other third-party game over here. And it's going to happen as long as they keep it off the opposition. Not a year later, you keep it off. They will come, guaranteed. These games are too big and too many to sleep on for your average casual gamer. I guarantee you, they're not going to Sony.
Definitely.
I've always told Peter Moore and Don Matrick and Steve Ballmer were so great for Xbox, yet they couldn't make these investments to actually put Microsoft or Xbox on the map. Huh? I wonder. Why that is.
Did you guys happen to see though the interview with Larry and Todd Howard and Phil and all of them?
Yeah.
Did you guys see that? That to me was an important message. You know what I got from that was it wasn't some hostile takeover. It was just like you saw the friendship there that they built over the years, and the morale seems fine. I mean, looks to be deceiving, yeah, of course. But it looked like it was a friendship that was there, and it wasn't just some thing that was just taken.
Man. I don't know. I just seen dollar signs in Pete Hines and Todd Howard's eyes. That's all I see.
Bethesda and Xbox, they go so far back.
Made. I was just saying, I love the.
But $7.5 billion company acquisition is one thing, but then you see that the people that run those companies, or if they just get up and leave, then what is it worth then? So I think it was important for them to just come out there and show their relationship and how great things were. I mean, and all these acquisitions that they made, they've had one after the other come and and speak, and it seems to me positive vibes. I think it sends a positive message to the industry, and people are watching. People
I even saw John
watching.
Carmack on Twitter was excited to maybe come back to Microsoft and get a chance to work on his IPs. Like, they don't hold a grudge against me. And, John Carmack, he invented Doom. He created the id Tech at the beginning. He's one of the creators of Facebook and Oculus. And this man is a genius. I think he's also one of those dudes like builds rockets in his backyard for fun. The dude's nuts. I love the man. And for him to be excited about the purchase, being like, maybe I can come back. It's like, yes, please. Like, how much better can it get than to have one of those dudes, man? Woo.
Even Cliffy, he's really kind of, he could be a hothead, but at the same time, so talent's hard to find. You're talking about 28 studios, top tier talent. 23. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead too far, right?
That's after they get Capcom.
Give it another week. But like, you're talking about all these studios. Now you can bring in the new guys and then show them the ropes. This is gold right here. You can show them the ropes, and
I don't know if it's true or not, Megatron, but Cliffy's not coming back. He says he's not coming back. He says he's done. But I don't know, man. I think he still has some left in the tank.
He's got something to prove. I think he's got something.
He actually put something out there that he would want to come back, but I don't think they came back to him.
Definitely.
But I think overall, what Megatron's saying about that I thought it was very interesting too. And they talked about how they want their games everywhere and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, as Pete Hines said. He kind of said, well, eventually it will be up to Phil or whatever Phil decides. They, at the end of the day, if you looked at what they were doing exclusive deals with Sony, with, the Tokyo game and Deadloop and Starfield. So they're, money talks, and I think they're going to have to realize too that, you want Xbox to be the number one platform for games, and the way you do that is by having your games, which is their games, which are the top games, I would say, or they're going to rival any game in Xbox Studio to be exclusive to the ecosystem. And I think that after a while, that people there will start to, believe in Xbox and start to become part of it, because as Todd Howard said, they said, well, we were independent, we were always ourselves, and now what are we? And he said, well, now Xbox. And I think that that's part of the transition too, is just when the people at, the smart people and the awesome people at Bethesda realize that now they are a part of something bigger, and that has changed. I think that'll be a very good thing for Xbox too. Again, the whole deal, the people they're getting, like Todd Howard, and freaking Peter Hines, and all the people that are a part of
Talented people,
that I'm not
really
saying.
talented people.
Arcane, a great talented studio.
I wonder what Matt Booty's going through right now. Like, is he overwhelmed? Is he asking for help right now? Because he's got a lot to be in charge of. I mean, he's handling a lot of that stuff, or at least first party stuff.
He got his plate full for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, guys. I'm just gonna move us along a bit, and again, like, we could go on and on and on about this ZeniMax, Bethesda, id, Arcane, Tango Gameworks. It's just amazing, the collection of studios that they just picked up, and it's gonna be curious to see where we go from here, what they got to announce in the coming months. It's just, there's a lot of excitement, and I love the positivity, and damn, it's going to be interesting the next couple of months and going into next gen. It's exciting. It's exciting times, and enjoy it, guys. But I would like to move on, and, finally, guys, we have a price for something that we talked about before, I think a few weeks ago. The Xbox Series X console's expandable storage drive. It's been confirmed to cost $220 US for the 1 terabyte cartridge. And a lot of people were hoping for, well, let's say a more palatable price point, including ourselves when we had discussed this, again, discussed the rumors a few weeks back. Centurion, buddy, I'm going to hit you up first on this one because I would love to know your opinion. What do you think of the pricing? Is this too expensive for the 1 terabyte edition, or is it just about right?
Oh my God. It's too expensive in my opinion, but sadly it's just about right for the technology that it is. Luckily I'm not going to need one right away. I'm probably going to sit back and wait for it to go on sale. When I first heard about it, I was thinking it's got to be $200. It's got to be $200, but being 220 was a little bit of a sticker shock for me. But at the same time, what can I expect? I was looking at an SSD hard drive actually the other night, and it was $140, and it's just a standard SSD, and this is something faster than that. So, of course, to be expected, it's going to cost more.
230. So,
no, yeah, there was some
company.
Yeah, there's some SSDs on there that were like $200 some dollars. The one I was looking at was a Samsung T5. But it was also on sale. The original price was, I believe, $199. So technically it's just right for the kind of technology that it is. But I do think there's going to be a lot of people out there that don't really know what the benefits of an SSD are just yet. And I think they are going to be a little bit shocked at the price tag when it comes to these the cost of these drives. But once they see the performance of them, I think they will understand because, I mean, it's night and day difference when you put an SSD hard drive on an Xbox One X or an Xbox One in general. Loading screens actually take place a lot easier. You have a lot less games that freeze up and drop out. That was the whole reason why I was looking at another one, was because I wanted to get another SSD hard drive for my existing Xbox.
Now, I'm curious though, because I never had an SSD. How reliable are they? They don't break down as often as the mechanical drives, right?
As far as I know, there's no moving parts to an SSD. It's just all boards. Where with a mechanical hard drive, there's a mechanical feature, and that means there's more to go wrong.
I've heard heat is the enemy of an SSD. They need to be cool.
Now, that's one thing about the Series X. So they're using a proprietary way to cool the SSD because SSDs, when they get hot, they will actually kind of go into this state where they will slow down to actually to stay at a state where they don't get hotter. And so that's why in the Series X, they have a way of actually cooling the SSD to help prevent this state from happening. But yes, heat is a big difference on an SSD. That is because obviously it's computing a lot of information very quickly. But on an Xbox One X, when I would play Destiny 2 with my friends, I was running off an SSD. I was loading in a full minute before people that were playing on an original Xbox One.
Oh.
Dude, I already know people that are running Destiny on the new hardware right now, and they're instant. I'm the last guy in time after time. I'm the last guy to even get in, so I know it's a big difference. Now it makes me think though. So the larger the SSD, the more heat it generates. Because then I'm thinking, because my biggest drawback was the price for one, and then the storage space. You know how big these games are. So
I don't think it's the size of the SSD. It's more along the lines of the compute power. That's what's making these new drives so cool is the amount of information they're actually able to compute and how quickly they can do it, which is making next gen possible for some of these games. That's where we see in the medium, you can shift instantly between one world and the other. Ratchet and Clank, you're jumping through shifting dimensions or however it's described. I mean, just this is how this technology is supposed to work. It's supposed to be able to create a seamless transition in your game so that way your experience isn't affected by loading screens.
Cool.
No, absolutely.
And think about how small these are. I think they're even smaller than like an NVMe like SSD that you see in a PC, and they're hot swappable.
Oh, it's
and I've just seen how they take them right out the back and just slips right out. So
it reminds me of the old school memory card thing.
Are you guys all planning on trying to grab one day one?
I'm not. I'm still gonna rely. I'm gonna only put like the games that are required. Only games that are required to run on that my hardware, my storage hardware. I'm gonna just do that. Everything else is gonna probably be off by still my mechanical. Unless it's something I play like Destiny's definitely going up there, but everything else, unless it's in my normal rotation, I'm not even gonna try because I originally was gonna get an Xbox Series S and an X, but now I might as well go ahead and get, like I said last week, go ahead and get two X's because if I buy an external, and think of what I'm paying for the Series S, it's almost the same. It's the same price, so I might as well. So.
It's going to come down to that transfer speed from our current external drive that we're sitting the games on to copying that over to the internal SSD. If that is fast, like if I can transfer Modern Warfare, which is 120 plus gig, if I can copy that bad boy over to the SSD in the time it takes me to, grab a drink and have a quick smoke, then I am on board. I will never need that card. I'll just transfer the stuff that I'm currently playing. If it's 5 minutes or less, that's fine. But if it's taking 10, 15 minutes to transfer some of the bigger, newer games that are going to come down, you start getting your first 200 plus gig games. If it takes 15 minutes, that's too long. Like, I'm a creature of impulse. I like looking at a giant list of games and I'm like, this one now. And I click it. And if it's not working, if it needs to be updated, it's not getting played now because I'm in the mood for something else almost instantly. So I need that stuff to be quick. And if it transfers back and forth really quick, like don't transfer your game to it, copy it so you don't have to transfer it back. You can just delete the SSD version and you'll always have the games on your externals. But if that goes really fast, like 3 to 5 minutes for some of the biggest games, I'll never have a problem. And I don't think I'll need that card. It's like $300 in Canada, which is obscene. That's a lot of money. So I'll wait at the least until the price comes down or the size goes up. Because it's too much for what you're getting, I think.
So we're kind of also not thinking about it in the sense that, okay, these cards are going to drive down the price of SSD hard drives in general. And that's where I think we're going to see a lot of people migrate, at least from mechanical hard drives to cheaper SSD hard drives. And I think with a hopefully a good 3 or 4 terabyte SSD hard drive hooked up to a Series X, but the transfer rate between these two SSDs, I feel, is going to be pretty substantial if in the years to come.
That's nice. Have you guys noticed this is another one of those things where Microsoft is being very open and transparent about what it's going to be, what you need, how much it's going to cost, whereas Sony is letting them get beat up right now over the cost. Everyone's losing their mind. Oh, my God. Yeah, no one knows anything coming from Sony, the company that has bragged about having a fucking SSD from the year 99. So they have this Blitzkrieg SSD that no one's ever seen before. It's so new, so hot. And they haven't said a word about how expensive theirs is going to cost or the options involved. They're just letting Xbox take the heat again.
We haven't even seen where it goes in.
No, exactly. I bet you it's not as convenient and it's going to be more expensive, but they'll be quiet until the day before it's out.
There's no port, so you're going to have to take off one of those panels.
It's true.
It's just another thing I notice is this lead up to this generation, especially, is Xbox.
Someone's going to snap that panel in half, I bet.
I have a question.
It's pretty crazy and it's pretty criminal how they can get away with just not saying anything and not really being questioned.
That's the one, yeah. And the media is guilty too for not questioning them. Like, what the?
I hope Ryan. I hope Mr. Well, I'm not going to say any names, but I hope a well-known person, journalist from IGN, has to carry around a screwdriver to upgrade. Complain about that and how heavy it is, or how it doesn't fit in his pocket. Right. So let's see.
Right. Yeah. I honestly, I think that like I said, I think that it's kind of crazy how nobody questions certain things. Sony does, like the backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
They put pre-orders out. How many games are going to be available? What's going to be enhanced?
Yeah.
Are we going to have quick resume? Are you going to have things like that? Sony has not talked about any of that stuff.
No, and when they first brought it up, Tim, Mark Cerny said the top 100 games played, that was what it was. And then all of a sudden, in an interview a little bit later, Jim Ryan, he's out there going, we've tested thousands of games, guys. We've tested thousands. 99% of them work. And then he just says, period. Not they're going to be available. It's we've tested thousands. 99% of them work, and leaves it at that. So the audience is convinced thousands are coming day one or right after. It's like, no, I'm sorry. You're getting the top 100 played, not even the most sold, but 100 currently played in the last 6 months. That's what you guys get. So
I think those are the ones that are getting boosted, though.
I don't think so. I think that's just they work.
That's what the quote that's been gone back and forth.
Like,
Sony fan gets easily duped.
It's rough.
Are they going to have any of that? Or where am I going to plug in my external? How does that work?
How about what does the real life physical console look in someone's hand? I'll tell you what, a suitcase from the 1980s. That's why you're never going to see it. They're not going to hand the console out to any of these trendsetters on YouTube or the IGNs until the last possible second. Because unless you're Shaquille O'Neal, it looks comically large when you're holding it. Like they could have the girl on IGN hiding behind the PS5, hop out. We've both seen the render of it beside a 36-inch TV and a 50-inch TV and a 42. It is massive. It's almost as wide as the Series X is. It's as long as a briefcase is. This is the biggest console of all time. It is so big. I don't think they're going to give anyone a console because unless you're huge, a giant, it'll look hilarious in your hands or sitting next to anything on your desk.
They're going to blindfold you and walk you to your car.
That's right. I think somebody knows that someone brought it into the office. They're like, here it is. And the people's like, what the hell? No, we can't let people see how big that thing is.
When you go and pick up your pre-order from GameStop that you're putting a television in the back of your car because of the size of the packaging.
Like I'm going through comment sections.
That's all you put in your car.
It's bad.
It comes to the point where they haven't been transparent. The media is too up their ass to even question them. I mean, listen, even Digital Foundry wanted to ask them about VRS and RDNA 2 full functionality. So they asked Cherney in March, do you have VRS? His answer to them was, we'll get back to you on that. They never talked about it again. And it's still up in the air if they have full functionality of RDNA 2. But again, that stuff is swept under the rug. It's okay not to ask about it. But if Xbox has they don't have their energy saving mode on the Xbox and burn too much electricity, let's grill Phil and let's get a comment from him. I mean, it's honestly so out of whack. It drives me nuts. Like the backwards compatibility thing, like we talk about. Still, what's the answer? Are you going to just remaster stuff? Are we going to have to pay for that? Or are you going to even say anything? Where is the journalist that actually has some balls and say, what's the deal? Your competition has said all of this. What is the deal? Talk, Jim. These journalists, they get paid the money that they do get paid. I hate to say it, they are underpaid because they don't do the right thing. That's the way to do the right thing. Ask questions that matter. You know what I mean? And then maybe you have a little more respect in your field. Because the fact of the matter is that you're doing bullshit. You're pandering to a company and you're grilling another company. And the things that went on with IGN, like a headline, like their headline for the case by case, comment from Phil was, it looks like Sony's Sony's going to get Xbox games because it's going to be handled case by case. They actually tweeted that. Also, GameStop had some article that took a quote from Phil from a year and a half ago and applied it to the best of the Bethesda stuff. It's like, come on, like
Phil was talking about DLC in that quote, though. Like us, when you pay your money and then someone holds like time DLC, kind of like the Call of Duty thing. That's what he was talking about. Not like, hey, if we invest in studios, they're going to be ours.
That's right. And then even, of course, with Microsoft, they've got the 3 ways to access games: PC, streaming on your phone, and console. So even that way, it's not as exclusive as these other guys are. So he's not lying about anything or wrong about his statements.
It's just the people that goes on. And we all know, we've been talking about this for a long time, and there's been stuff that come out. I mean, there should be more professionalism in the journalistic field, and especially with games journalists. But unfortunately, you definitely have a fanboy element, and you have people that have preferences, and it's coming quite clear as day with this whole thing, because now it's like, oh, these beloved franchises should be on they really shouldn't be exclusive and this and that. Yet the same people have been bashing Xbox about exclusive. The same people.
They don't say anything about Spider-Man.
And they don't say anything about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man games are gone for the foreseeable future. Like, you just forget that. And but no one says anything. But you can't hold Elder Scrolls 6, Elder Scrolls 6 away.
Well, that and Final Fantasy too, right? Like, a year for wait for Final Fantasy.
It's like, if it wasn't Ryan McCaffrey saying that Xbox is being petty and they're petty fanboys with Tomb Raider, and then the same exact thing comes up with Final Fantasy.
Oh my
gosh! And the guy's
like,
you move. This is a real awesome move by Sony.
That's when he went on the blocking. That's when he went on the blocking spree for like 2 days.
People question him on it, and he blocks
at this point, he was blocking his dog, Mother Teresa. Everything.
It's amazing. It's amazing though, because literally people were showing him his hypocrisy right to his face. It's like, come on, we're calling you out on this.
And he blocked him, and some of the people were just saying, they're legitimately asking, what the hell is this? And your answer is to block him? That's the way you're a journalist? That's the way you're handling things? Like bullshit like that? And it's not only him, it's Jason with his bullshit when he calls out and says stupid things like, oh, well, you can't defend a big corporation. And then the guy's pandering about Sony not having a power narrative and talking about SSDs and going on a freaking on these rants about promoting Sony, and it's obvious what's going on.
I saw something on Twitter by some publication. I can't remember who it was, and they said, "Does power even really matter anymore? We don't even need that much." And some people were saying, I think they said,
"Hey, or how about
someone said that the Xbox Series S was too little, not enough.
Oh yeah,
Xbox Series X was too much. I'm like,
it's just too big of an upgrade, boys. I'm in this wasteland in the middle. I need a PS4, which is the same cost and less power. That's what I feel. What? Past whatever the hell that dude's smoking over here, he's done. My God.
I mean, seriously though, and I'm glad that we call him out, because that's just the truth of the matter. And there's no defending. This stuff. It's all right there. It's so stupid. Like the one that we're talking about. The Xbox Series X is too powerful. It's too much.
They do realize that there was such a thing as Blades of Grass, the controversies in GTA 5, right? Back in 2014.
Too much grass!
Oh, man. And then now it's too powerful? Give me a break.
Yeah. It saturates my screen too much with too much colors.
We're not worthy!
Colors blind me.
I mean, seriously, like for that industry to grow itself and to be better, you got to have some type of, you got to be fair and balanced. You really should try to, call it without being, fanboyish. You should try to just do your job, and you shouldn't hold favorites and hold one standard for one company. And just because the other company's more popular and you're afraid that you might lose subscribers because you're being questioning of another company, that's just the wrong way to go about it. I mean,
Well, and being balls
honestly,
deep in ad revenue
like
from these companies is a conflict of interest if I've ever seen one, right?
I'm laughing at Delilah. Delilah's like too much A button. And I think that was
She's right.
that was geared. That
and
was.
this, how long has this been stuff been going on? It's been going on for a long time, and the same people. You know, it all started too with the Resolution Gate when that was like put on such a pedestal, and everything was like you. We didn't talk about exclusives. We didn't talk about how Rise looked amazing and looked all. We talked about Sunset Overdrive. We talked about their pixel counts. And that was the first thing that was brought up in all these articles.
Yes.
And that was what pushed because they knew that Xbox had a disadvantage or that they might not be up to par with the competition. And they pushed it until, you know, when they shut up, when they heard about Project Scorpio. It
When the
was
One X
like,
dropped, yeah.
they just dropped the narrative, and
Yeah.
and you know that's why I think Xbox, you know, going back to what we started, that's why Xbox has to do something like get a publisher like Bethesda, because that just is a type of move that just shuts everyone up. You can't say you're just like holy shit. You know, if you're a hater of Xbox or you're somebody who wants them to go away, and there are people that are like that, you're like, oh my god, I hope they're done now. Like I really hope, I hope they didn't take this too far.
Yeah.
You know, because you've pissed off a company and you've pushed your narrative so much that they addressed it, but they addressed it in a big way. And
So Microsoft has FU money to do this, and it's just like, we're just doing it to piss off the Sony guys. We're buying up everything. I mean,
Right.
they have so much money. I don't think Sony guys realize that if they take it serious, gaming, it's over. You can't compete with Microsoft with their money. You just can't.
Yeah. Speaking about
well,
moves, oh, go ahead.
No, I just also think too, believe it or not, they are very aware of Luna and Google and Amazon. They believe, like when Phil says that that's their competition, they do believe that when they say that. They're not just saying that to try to avoid, conflict with Sony. They do believe, because let's be honest, if Amazon wanted to start pulling this same stuff and buying publishers and doing all that stuff, guess what? They could start doing it. I think, unfortunately for them and Amazon, I don't think that they're taking this as serious as Xbox has, and that's why I do. Go ahead.
Oh no, speaking of which, Tim, like, I mean, obviously that leads us into our final topic. I mean, you're more than welcome to continue with this. It just, Amazon did unveil a few days ago their cloud gaming service, the Luna, like you were saying, and it's going to be available on PC and the Amazon Fire devices and like the iPads and iPhones. What do you think of it overall?
I think the controller's very nice, and I think that they have good people behind it, like Albert, and I think that it's probably a good product. But when it comes down to it, when you have something that you're competing with like xCloud that has all these games day and date, and with Game Pass, and you have all that going for it, I think it's pretty hard. I think I do think that Amazon's going to be more serious than Google, to be honest. And
I think it's going to be interesting this coming year, where all the chips fall into place. Amazon is still up in the air as far as the content that they have, so there's that. But it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they're going to get these Lunas into the home, whether they use their subscription already Amazon Prime built into, give every customer that owns Amazon Prime. That's another way to get them in their homes. I don't know if they can do some sort of deal as far as the tech goes, maybe raise the price. I think Amazon Prime's what, $13.99 right now a month? I forget exactly, but and you're going to see these big companies like Google, like Amazon make some purchases, but at the end of the day, I think Xbox is in a good place with xCloud. They have the infrastructure already. They have the games, they have the publishers, they have everything in place. They're already ahead of the game. And the company that's going to get left behind is Sony out of all this. Not Nintendo, because Nintendo does their own thing. they're in like a different, in a different league because they're more geared towards handheld. They do things a lot different. Sony, on the other hand, is far behind the eight ball now in terms of, their streaming tech, what their capabilities are now with the publishers, and they're going to get left behind here. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Amazon does. Even Apple. I mean, you see Apple what they're doing, and there's all these different players. Um, it's just going to be a crazy year for sure. You're going to see Xbox make another few acquisitions, but again, you're going to see Amazon and Google buying up people, because if they don't, they're going to get left behind, just like Sony's going to be left behind. Now Xbox is they're in a position of power, Tim. They're in a huge position of power, more so than any other platform right now in the industry. I think sky's the limit, and I mean, it's just the future's great right now. So,
has anybody been keeping up?
Amazon's definitely
Stadia,
doing it the right way.
Is anyone keeping up with Stadia? How are they doing now? Is they still kind of like not well?
They're still slugging it out. Like, it's not really.
They're still they haven't changed anything. It's just like we're still doing piecemeal, and we're just sticking to it. But Amazon comes in and is kind of doing a little bit in between that. They're kind of doing. It's almost like a TV package, from what I'm hearing, where you like sub to this, this kind of group, or I have to look into a little bit more, but it's more subscription based, like Game Pass, which seems to be a better way to go.
Base level. I think there's 100 games in the base package, which is $7, but they promise that will go up in the future. They're open about that. And then you can subscribe to channels, and there's like an Ubisoft channel. They don't have no pricing, but they might have like a first-person shooter channel or a racer channel, arcade game channel. So you can kind of pick and choose which ones you'd like to grab. I think that's a totally unique way of doing this. We haven't seen that yet for anyone else, so that's kind of neat. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, no one's stuck in these subscriptions. You jump in for a month, play a bunch of games, and then jump out, and you come back when something that you're interested in shows up. You're not dedicated to keep doing it month to month if you don't want to use it. I think that's the best part of Luna, personally, is you can kind of jump in and subscribe to the channel that you're interested in for the month, and if you want to keep going, of course you do. If not, you're out, and it's no more than renting one game back, only 15 years ago at Blockbuster. So I think it's an awesome deal. It's only in the States. That'll limit it right out the gate. Like they need to get that shit worldwide. But once that happens, I think it could be good. I don't think they're in nearly the same spot as Xbox or Microsoft, because they aren't releasing on PC native, and they don't have a console to sell you to play on. So that hurts them. It's streaming or bust. There's a lot of people that don't want to jump into that right now. So that's a bit of a, no-no. But I think as long as they're here for the long haul, and they need to acquire studios and games, of course, like where everyone's been screaming at each other this whole generation. It's exclusive games that really draw a lot of people, not everyone, but they bring attention to your ecosystem. And unless Luna has something that we can't already play on the consoles we enjoy, or streaming where we like, or playing on a PC if you want to, why are you doing it? Right?
Yeah, who they're trying to appeal to? I mean, because is it enough for me to leave, my ecosystem, or even Sony or Nintendo, to go? And I mean,
it could be iOS users, because it's on iOS, but it's web browser based. There's no app.
Yeah, that's correct. As far as exclusive content, not really. They do have a couple of first-party studios. Obviously, a few years ago, they bought Double Helix. Yeah, well, they rebranded it, but still. They have a couple of studios. It just, a few of their games over the past year or so just have not done well. Like, what was it? They had Crucible in some kind of an early play test, and it just didn't.
Yeah, and then it got pulled. Yeah, it was like released and then pulled again back into alpha or something. Like, yeah, it
got pushed back by like a year. Like, that is like it's not very good at all.
The fact that they've built games tells me they're taking it more serious than Google and Stadia on that front. Is they're kind of aware that they do need unique content to get it over here, and it's not just timed, which is what Stadia is doing with their exclusives. Everything's timed. Serious Sam 4 just dropped. It's timed. They don't have anything only for them, and I think that's going to be a big thing when it comes to two new players coming into a video game market and competing for streaming, which is already being done by Xbox. So it's
Yeah.
like it'll grab some
Now,
casuals. I
What's
think
their
like there'll be a
strong
lot of
point, though?
casuals,
Like,
but
is it Twitch?
What's
Is
that?
Twitch their biggest thing?
Twitch,
that might
have?
be.
Twitch is them, yeah. They were
They
gonna
don't-
leverage
so-
that.
Yeah, because I'm just kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we gonna have the big? I mean, so would you have Ninja come out and just kind of promote this, or for right?
I think he's
Ninja was a
YouTube now. I think Twitch lost a lot
Yeah.
of their biggest views. I
Oh,
mean, they
did they?
tossed the doc right out, which is their biggest mistake ever.
thought-
Because
I thought Ninja went back to Twitch now.
I thought he went to Twitch.
got
Is he
rid of
back
it.
on Twitch?
yeah,
I thought he was
think-
doing YouTube
I think
again.
Ninja went back.
I think
to
he signed a
Twitch.
contract with
Oh,
them.
yeah.
I thought that he might change things around, man. That was a wake up call. Nixon went right downhill after him. But no, I think with Amazon, I think that they're interesting. They're going to have some of their own games. I believe, didn't they buy Typhoon? Or did they buy?
That was Google. Google bought Typhoon Studios.
And yeah, then they have the game Crucible. And don't they have a game The Exorcist coming out? It's about like you're a priest and you gotta like tame demons and the Exorcist girl.
Wow, something.
Not
a horror game I
entirely
couldn't
sure,
play.
to be honest, but
I'm only kidding.
I couldn't.
I'm only kidding.
their
Beats me out
first
just thinking
party,
about it. Like
their first party though isn't that strong. I was actually kind of hoping that they would have acquired a couple of other studios just to
Yeah.
like make their
What's
platform more
the-
appealing.
Yeah, no. Invader,
Well, I
not just
think-
scared. If
Yeah, I
they
think
start
now.
let's see. This is the thing I get nervous about. We talked about monopolies, which I agree with. It wouldn't be that, but what would suck is like say Xbox bought CD Projekt Red, and then Sony bought Ubisoft, and then Amazon bought another publisher, and then all those games are exclusive to that. That would suck if they starting to break up the third party market that way. And I do think that kind of would happen because if there is going to be a big player in this, I think that Google's going to bow out, and I think that Amazon's going to make a push for it. So I could see them buying a big third-party publisher. And
Yeah, I think now with the news that we got that Luna is now official, I think you're going to see them in the fold here real quick.
what do you guys think of the controller?
It reminds me of a mix between the Xbox controller and the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, which is actually, in my opinion, a good thing. I think it looks all right.
anything that has offset thumbsticks, I'm immediately gonna think Xbox. So I mean, it looks cool. It looks like something I would use. I prefer. I like the feel of the DualShock, but I'm not a fan of the position of the stick. So I wouldn't pay my shooters that way. But other than that, it looks like a cool controller. So hey,
yeah. Well, everybody.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh,
I like
go
it. Yeah, look.
Yeah, no, I mean everybody forgets too that there's some, some old or ex Microsoft people there too, like Witten, I believe, as well as Albert Pinello. Like they got some pretty smart guys there.
yeah, Albert's a great guy. Great guy. Tim introduced me him some years back, and he's a real good, knowledgeable person. So that's it. Yeah. Best of luck. I don't think they're going to really go anywhere, but who's to say? They got the money, and for right now, I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do. And they're definitely probably looking at Microsoft and seeing the moves they're making. But yeah, we'll see. Only time will tell.
Did
That's it.
everybody get a chance to, try to pre-order this thing? You going to be in the beta? Did you guys try to do that?
I didn't. I thought about it, but go ahead.
Oh no, I can't. It's only U.S. only, so I can't right now.
Yeah.
How about Centurion? Are you getting in on this, or are you waiting this one out?
On the Luna thing, I think I'm gonna wait this one out. Forgive me. I saw what happened with Stadia. It is what it is. It's just another game. I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to turn out, but no, it has not totally got my total interest. I want to sit back and wait.
Hey, does anyone know on Luna, are they actually selling the games to own Stadia style as well, or is it only subscription services they're offering?
I'm thinking
From
this
right
is-
now, yeah, I think it's subscription only. So
Yeah, it's
that's
like
$6.
Yeah.
especially the way they're
Yeah.
figuring it with the game channels and stuff like that. That sounds which is
Mhm.
interesting. Like, but yeah, I think it's subscription only.
It's like
I mean,
once it's available in Canada, I could see myself hopping in on the random month to check it out, and that's it. But I wouldn't
right.
be like a long-term consistent subscriber to a service like that. But I could see myself jumping in. I've done it a few times with Apple Arcade. 2 or 3 times in the past, I've jumped in for the month. It was $5, play a few of the arcade games, done. Like, I'm an older gamer. I used to go to the arcade. The thing munched all the change in my pocket, no problem. I can throw $5 and play 100 games for a month. That's a bargain. So I
And they
think
have
these
some nice
services are
titles
offering
in there.
that. They do. They really do. Some
Yeah.
quality games, and I think it's a good bargain at any time. But just jump in for a month or 2 or 3 out of the year randomly when you're not wanting to play the games you're normally accustomed to. It's fine that way, and I think a lot of gamers will use that. I'm not sure if it's going to be too many people's dedicated and only way of playing video games.
Now,
Not for a while.
I'm just a little confused, if I could say. Do you need the controller, or can you use any controller?
Yeah, you can use the Xbox and the Sony controller with it, as I've heard. So that's way better than Stadia right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the same thing with xCloud. You can do the same thing with xCloud, by the way. At least I know as far as the PlayStation controllers, you're able to use the DualShock to control
with
your
xCloud?
games.
How dare you?
Me and Supersonic Wolf, you guys remember him. We were playing Gears, so I was playing.
Oh.
I was playing Gears through my console, and he was streaming through his phone using xCloud, and it was a great experience.
How do you like
And he loved it. He loved it. He didn't know he praised it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right? I heard he hit me up with that it's not the thing that they're selling, it's the attachment, but it looked like a Nintendo one.
Oh, you're talking about the thing that attached to the side, the Bluetooth. What's it called again?
What is
Shock,
that?
help us out here. You just picked that up, right? The Razor, but you got the. Is it called the Razor?
Yeah, it's the Razor
Kishi.
Oh, the Ishi. Yeah, that one. But then there's another one that he showed me, which looked really cool. But yeah, he's always been talking about streaming games from the longest time. But he's been happy with it.
Yeah, so far,
Good.
from our experience, it would all without a hitch. So, and I gave my feedback to some higher ups. But yeah, it was a great experience. So yeah.
So they also have a barrier where you don't associate a company like Google or a company like Amazon with gaming, like video games. You just don't associate those names with it. So they have some education to kind of come along and let the public know. It's like, hey, we have video games like over here, and not ones you just buy from Xbox or Sony, Amazon style. Like we have something for you, and I think that's going to be a bit of a barrier because for the longest time, it has just been Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony for the better part of 20 years. So for these other guys to come in, they just have a recognition of even being in the industry problem that they have to get over.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be a barrier, but at the same time, if Amazon does something with their Amazon Prime members, they have 110 million people who have already subscribed in the U.S. to Amazon Prime. If they could reach those people through marketing, then they have, it's instant.
They got to leverage that.
It's a matter of letting them know. Like if you're subscribed, how do you suddenly know this month you've got this thing Luna, and then it's called Luna? If you don't know what the hell that is, you're just like, whatever, I don't need it. Like they always give bonuses and stuff in these subscriptions. I know Prime itself has a couple of sweet, each thing per month. So
in that sense, they actually do have some sort of ecosystem. You can buy, you can buy a TCL TV that's already has Amazon already inputted in it. You can buy the tablets that already, the Fires that come with, Luna already installed in it, and you can just automatically play. So there's different things that they can do as far as
you can reserve your
people.
Xbox Series X and they see you that email. Good luck, roll the dice. Roll the dice.
The thing that this is what would you say? This is a $1 billion investment from Google and Amazon. Would you say that that's accurate, or maybe a little bit less? But like everyone's talking about, I just don't see them lasting. And Jeremy, you did bring up Sony saying that they're going to get left behind. I don't think that. I think that they are in the process. If you remember, they had gained a partnership with Microsoft to utilize Azure servers, and I think that has to do with this. So I do think that if Sony jumps into the realm, and they have something that's like xCloud, which I think that they will. I just can't see Amazon and Google really making a play unless they want to be serious. And to be honest, either Amazon or Google, the studio that they
Yeah.
should have gotten, or the publisher that
But
they should have gotten,
that,
should have been Bethesda.
That's
I
right.
just
agree.
I don't see no kid
I'm saying-
asking for Luna. I want Luna for Christmas. I just don't see it.
Oh,
Or Stadia. I just don't see
But
it.
that's what I'm
and then
saying. You're going to see.
understand that.
You're going to see all the chips fall in line right now because, I mean, this next year is going to be huge. I'm telling you right now. You're going to see just how serious Amazon and Google are if they're going to be able to keep up with Xbox because they have to make moves or they're going to get left behind. And, we'll see Amazon purchase a big player in all this. We're going to see Google go out and purchase. It just depends. I mean, people aren't accepting Stadia right now for whatever reason. It's not catching on, whether it's exclusive games or it's just they don't have the content on their system. I don't know. It's maybe they need to get it more in more homes.
It's new to people. It's
Yeah.
listen, when Google showed its first thing, when they unveiled it, and they had I forgot, he used to be an Xbox and a Sony Harrison up there, and they showed
talked
all that
big.
stuff.
They talked big.
They talked big. They actually had me as somebody who was like, wow, I remember
Yep.
Xbox people being like, I gotta say, they made a pretty good presentation there. But if you watch it now, you'll laugh because some of the things that they're showing, a lot of it they're not still doing. Like, if in fact I am on the internet and I do have a controller and I can hot link a game and I just hit a game and be jumped right into it, and then I could, run a party from that game like a podcast. Yeah, I could see Stadia really starting to make waves. Like, if they did some of the stuff that they promoted at the start of this all, then yeah. But when you're just becoming a streaming service with no exclusive games really, and your games aren't day and date, and you're saying that you're replacing a console, we all know that the console is better than local. It's going to be local's better than streaming. That's going to be probably the next, probably maybe forever, but because when you're having hardware right there versus streaming, you're going to get the better experience. But overall, what really can they sell you on if they don't have it? Like, maybe if they did.
Tim, that whole Cyberpunk thing where they lost Cyberpunk and it's not coming out on Stadium, that was huge.
Yeah, that was bad.
Let's think about it from the perspective of the game companies. Like a Ubisoft or CD Projekt. Do they even want to be bought by Amazon or Google? Could you imagine? Because I mean, the morale there would definitely kind of change, right? You got to, you got to think like it's that classic car. You got that 68 Vet and it's shiny. You don't want to just sell it to anybody. Some kid is going to pipe it out and swing the doors up. You want to be taken to somebody's going to appreciate that.
100% correct when you say, if these owners are going to sell to a company, they want a company that has a strong foundation like Xbox. They don't want to go to a Google who's up in the air. Are they serious about gaming or are they not? Is Amazon late to the party or are they not? They want a solid foundation, and I think that's why Bethesda made this, or ZeniMax, I'm sorry, made this deal with Xbox because they have a strong foundation. They know that their employees are going to be taken care of at the end of the day with Microsoft and Xbox.
You see companies like Sony and Microsoft and everyone praising them, and so far it's been good vibes. And you can see, I don't want to say the top tier, they probably signed into a contract to say they're obligated to stay if it's acquired. But you think of that mid-level tier, real talent, they're probably packing bags and probably hauling ass. They may feel some kind of way. I mean, you know how people are when they're creative, and then all of a sudden they got to deal with this. I don't know, man. That's something to definitely think
Just
about.
look at when
Yeah.
Microsoft bought Rare, and like 30 of their top talented people left when that deal was inked. So,
Mhm.
what happened to Rare? Oh, they left. That's what happened.
Oh yeah, you're right.
After Sea of
Well,
Thieves, though, they saved the day.
that's the thing. Like, imagine Bethesda was purchased by, say, Google, and a lot of their employees didn't know that. Like, they might not be happy at all. Like, you imagine that you're just releasing on one streaming device and that's it. So, yeah, I think that's a great point that you have to have a strong foundation, and that even the people at Bethesda now know they've known Xbox for so long, and they know Xbox's community and how much we love them, and how much
Yeah. For all we know, that was
Tim,
one of the deciding factors. But guys, that top dudes at Bethesda making this choice could have been approached already by Amazon and Google, and maybe even for 7.7 billion or 7.8, let's say. But they know what's going to happen to the company that they've built, and they'd rather it go to Microsoft for just a little bit less money. Like, that could be an actual deciding factor for these guys. Is, do I want to be streaming only, or do I want to have all three bases covered with my future of gaming?
I think it was huge for Pete Hines, Todd Howard, Major. Obviously, he does the podcast, but Phil to come out and explain the deal and explain why ZeniMax and Bethesda are going to be handled with kid gloves, basically giving them the freedom and having them be an independent company like they were with the backing of Microsoft money, and that's huge. That gives it gives employees of the company just something to look forward to, but also security, and that's the biggest thing. And when they came out and they explained that, I think that was huge and just a class act on all those, on the whole entire, just the company in general.
Which kind of makes me think in a positive way that Microsoft has a first hand, at these other companies looking at them. Like, I think Bungie was real. I think, I don't know anything other than just what I would like to see. I don't know any. It's just me, my gut feeling that I think that the rumors with Bungie were real. I think Warner Brothers was a definite thing, that there was behind the scenes talks. I mean,
definitely.
That's it, man. So it's just
yeah. No, it's great. I think you're exactly right with Bungie. You've always been on that, pushing that, and I know that you want that to happen. But Jeffrey Grubb reported, and I've also heard from other people that they've been in talks, but that I think that Bungie wants money that's like exorbitant, and I don't think that they have an agreement. Nor do I think it might happen. But I do know that I think that it is it's pretty well known, at least, that they had talked, or at least when Jeffrey Grubb has been pretty good. He was actually the one that said that he heard another huge deal was coming. He didn't think it was studio related, which it did turn out to be studio. Maybe it was because it's a publisher, but he's been pretty spot on. But yeah, when you have these companies and this is going on, this is all stuff that you have to consider. And to Jeremy's point about security and stuff, you look at the studios that Xbox has purchased in the last 2-3 years, and you look at Exile, they're growing. You look at Ninja Theory, they're growing. Compulsion's growing. Obsidian's already been awesome. I think that Xbox is taking they basically let the companies run themselves, and they're there to facilitate them and to help them financially and to help them to back them. But they believe in these creators, and this isn't a type of case where this is like the old Microsoft where it's telling Rare to make Kinect games. This is far different, and I think that having Phil and Matt Booty there, kind of just exemplifies that. And I think that that's one of the reasons why companies like Bungie or other companies are interested, because they know they're going to get more money, and they would just make games and not have to worry about anything else. They don't have to market, they don't have to do anything. They just make games.
Absolutely. All right, fellas, I think after covering all that giant whirlwind of news from the past week, we're going to wrap things up here. And you know what, guys? I think we had a really good chat tonight, like just talking about all the information from the bombshell, the absolute magnitude of this Xbox acquisition. And, you know, just all the other topics as well, but definitely the ZeniMax news being acquired by Xbox. You know, we were all fired up about this news. Heck, I'm still processing it all. But I also know that everyone that tuned in tonight is also feeling the effects of it. And as always, a huge shout out to everyone that joined us live. Very lively chat as per usual. And if you haven't done so already, then consider dropping us a like, sharing this show out, and subscribing for future TXR episodes. Guys, great conversations tonight, and hey, let's get to some of the outros, starting with our guest, So Shady. Buddy, it was great having you on tonight. Great conversation. Where can everybody follow you at?
Hey, not a problem, man. Thank you again for the invite. I decided to take podcasting basically off once the pandemic hit back in March. Things were just getting nuts everywhere. I wanted to be close with the friends and family, take a break. And then I only did one show, and that was RDX in between March and now. So I've had one podcast besides this one in almost like 6 months. So thank you so much. It's easy to get suddenly just forgot when that happens. You just step out for months of time like that. It's nice when you're back in, and within a week, you've got someone extending a hand, asking if you'd like to come on and talk games. It was awesome to be able to just come on, share my mind. It was a big share, I admit. But man, there was just... There's so much to talk about, and it felt absolutely fantastic instantaneously to come back into a group of gamers, all passionate dudes that just want to talk about the same things that I do. So I don't have my more casual gaming buddies looking at me like a psychopath. It's nice to get back in and interact and have a good time again, man. So I say thank you one more time. I am So Shady on Twitter. You can find me at the Sesh Empire. That is one word. And that's it for now. You know, I'm bouncing around some ideas. I want to get my channel on YouTube going. That is just So Shady. There's 100 odd people waiting at ground level, 0 content. If you feel like joining there, by all means. I want to get something going. I don't know what it is, but I do know that I want to get something going sooner as opposed to later. But Twitter for now is where you find me. That's at the Sesh Empire. Thanks again, guys. I had an absolute blast, and I hope sometime I can come back and do it again.
Absolutely, brother. And hey, guys in the chat, definitely give him a follow. I'm sure he'll be dropping some pretty cool content in the near future. But again, thanks for your time, So Shady. Moving on to the TXR regulars, I'll start with Megatron. Buddy, awesome show. Where can everybody follow you at?
Oh man, let me first say that Shady, bro, you are the real deal. It was awesome to have you, man. We could have just let you talk, man. You were just, I mean, all points, everything. You were spot on, bro. It was an honor to have you on, especially being the only second time that you've been on a podcast. So it was great to have you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, when it comes to filling airtime, you can always just point in my direction. I'll go forever. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, no problem. Man, hey, man, you can find me, Megatron_1975 on Twitter. And you can hit me up on Xbox Live, as always. And pretty soon to be PlayStation when I can get me a PS5. Yeah, my gamer tag is Megatron1. Yeah, I had a great show. Shout out to everybody that came through, man. I think this is the biggest turnout we ever had yet. Mm-hmm. And yeah, all the new people. I see Delilah in there, man. It was just great. It was a great show. It was fun, and yeah, man, it was a good Sunday. The way to close out a weekend. Thank you.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, Shady definitely brings that energy. I love it. We'll move on down the list. Centurion, buddy. Good stuff tonight. Some really good points. I had a really fun show. Where can everybody follow you at?
Dude, it was a fun show. Everybody had a lot to say. Oh my gosh. And yes, it was an absolute blast to finally get to do a show with Shady. I've kind of listened to him over the years off and on different shows, even followed him on Twitter. And definitely it's actually been kind of one of those things I've been looking forward to finally do a show with him. And here we are. So
I'm blushing over here. Stop. Okay, keep going.
But definitely thank you for being here. And thank you, gentlemen. It was another amazing show. For those interested, please be sure to follow me on Xbox Live, Twitter, and YouTube at Centurion1307. I can also be found every Saturday night on on the Shop Podcast and every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast. I actually podcast too much. This is my second show today, and I'm about 5 hours deep.
Oh, been there before, brother. But hey, you hold your own, so that's good. All right, moving on down the list. Jeremy, hey, great commentary tonight as always, buddy. Where can everybody follow you at?
Well, you can find me under a rock in Montana. But really, this entire week goes out to all the Xbox fans out there who've been waiting a long time, for a moment like this. I'm happy for everybody. You can see the excitement, especially on the podcast, with the viewers watching. We had a big viewership today. Everybody's excited and talking about Xbox, and that's a good thing. So appreciate Shady. Thank you very much. You're a class act, very knowledgeable, awesome dude. We appreciate you, and hope you have a good night, everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Definitely. Moving on, Tim, buddy, again, we had a lot to talk about. Glad we got through all that. And yeah, man, there's hype. So, yeah, let's close this out. Where can everybody follow you at, man?
xCloud Tim Dog, great show. Shady, awesome to have you. Always have your great points and passionate, commentary. So it's just very happy, good week. And I'm shot right now. I'm going to sleep. So it's been fun. Great turnout by everyone. And I'll see you next week.
Yeah, got that right, buddy. Yeah, awesome turnout. Awesome. I think we had at least 175 live at one point on YouTube alone. That's not counting other platforms that we simultaneously broadcast to. So awesome stuff tonight, guys. And of course, round this out, Shockley, buddy, Eric. Awesome commentary. Where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live, and yeah, hit up my DMs like I said. I'll help you get that Xbox or PS5 even. So, but yeah, great show, great topics tonight. See you later.
Oh yeah, hey, when you got a bomb that drops like that early in the week, we gotta talk about it, of course. And hey, I'm still feeling the after effects, man. Definitely. And to end this off, of course, I'm Invader, and you can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming. As well, I'm pretty active on Twitter at Invader_1986. Excellent show tonight, everyone, and we cannot wait to see everybody tune in to the next Sunday's show. Have a good one, fellas. Hopefully, we get more Xbox news and games. See ya.